Just got a thing on my cell phone that said, you know, this meeting was about to start with a big X in the middle. And I kept punching that X and it wouldn't go away. It wouldn't go away. It finally dawned on me with cell phones, you don't press the button, you swipe the button. Yeah.
Sometimes pressing does one thing and other times swiping does something, and they're not the same things. And sometimes it can't distinguish between a press and a swipe.
Well,
and I
there's
can't
also a thing called
distinguish.
a short press. And
Can
a
I be
long
heard?
press.
Nobody's hearing me.
Stan, I can hear you quite well.
Oh, okay.
Will, on the other hand, is a little low in his volume on his mic.
Really? Okay, let me pump the volume up a little bit. I'm adjusting it on my controls. Does it need to be higher? Is it?
If you could, yes.
Sure, okay.
We're old.
Is it okay now?
Not much different, frankly.
Really? Oh, you know what? I've been hitting the volume rather than the microphone. Okay, now we're going. Is that better now?
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently with the volume up, you could hear yourself well.
Good morning, Arlene. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Your volume is a little low also.
At my age, it's good to be anywhere.
Amen.
I've been bumped off of here 3 times already this morning.
Would you like me to also make a recording, Hank?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
In fact, it would help if you would do that most days, because I do get bumped, and when I get bumped, sometimes it doesn't start recording again when I get back on.
Can you check your internet speed, Hank?
Yeah, I suppose I could. I've done it before.
Yeah, I don't think it's a speed issue, Will. I think it's there, you know, the internet is not 100%, and sometimes they just disconnect connections, right?
Wow.
I mean, I've been bumped myself, so no guarantee I'm going to not get bumped this meeting.
I've never had it happen anywhere else. Or I don't lose websites that I'm wandering around on.
Yeah, not so much that, I would say, but in Zoom in particular, there's a lot going on, and equipment gets worked on and local providers and elsewhere across the internet, and it's like the weakest link in the chain. Somewhere it's going to break. Not necessarily on your end, just somewhere along the chain it's going to break. It's amazing it works at all.
Yep. Magic.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm getting 87 megabits per second download and 92 megabits per second upload.
And Zoom says it only needs like 2.5 megabits per second. So it's not a speed issue. It's just reliability.
Apropos of the current situations, I will let you all know that Peter and I got our flu vaccine and the upgraded Moderna shots yesterday. And so far, no reaction, no sore arm, no nothing. It was very easy.
Very good. I
Where'd you
just
get
sort
it?
of wait for the VA to offer me. The VA's been doing mine, and they've usually come around and offer it to me, so I wait for them. But I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Where'd you get yours, Arlene?
CVS drugstore, that's where we get our prescriptions filled. And I had some prescriptions to pick up, and they have a place on their website where you can make an appointment. And we showed up and they said, come in, and gave us the shots, and it was easy peasy.
I checked with the VA this week and they said a week or so for the COVID shot and the end of the month for the flu shot.
Good to know.
Yeah, I'll check out the CVS because I just went to the government websites and they said, check back in a couple of weeks. We're not quite there. So thank you for that, Arlene.
And Moderna. Oh, goody, people are arriving. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
And we already have a quorum, so we're in good shape.
I got a nasty gram from SDG&E this morning. And they said, if you don't cut back on your power usage, we're going to reduce your discount or something. Apparently, we've been running our air conditioning a little heavily.
What do you keep it at?
76.
Oh, I was told I was okay so far. I think we'll be good from now on anyway, because it looks like we're back to normal again, weather-wise.
Yeah, it was pretty hot yesterday morning. It was like 80, 88 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. It never cooled down. That's what's tough.
It's Barbara. I'm using my phone to connect this time, so I don't know how it'll work out, but I'll try it.
Well, now we know who Moto is.
Oh, is that what they call me? Okay, yeah, that's me. Yeah, my my two PCs are giving me all kinds of trouble, so I think I'm going to be in the market for a new PC. So if anyone's got any recommendations on places to shop, I'm open to suggestions.
I've always bought my laptops at Costco.
Yeah, my brother's got a Costco card, so that'd be no problem. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to check them out next week. Thank you.
Okay, well, we have reached the appointed hour and we have a quorum. I would like to call the meeting to order of the Board of Directors of the Senior Computer Group. We have a few guests, I see. Pat and Paul Mack and Barbara. You see, Dan. Dan is not a board member, right?
Right.
Correct.
And Bobby, not a board member. Okay. Anyway, moving forward, agenda changes. I have one item I would like to add, and that's the San Diego State University archiving project that Pat is involved in. And I would like to, unless there's objection, make it item 11.2 under new business, because I don't think we've discussed that in the past at the board meeting. Alice, you got that?
I do. All set. I
Thank
move
you.
that we approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda? Aye, or raise your hand, or both.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, thank you. Minutes of previous board meeting. I trust you have them. And are there any suggestions about the minutes of the previous board meeting? Thank you, Alice, for getting them out promptly.
I would like to just add that I will be resigning from the secretarial position at the end of this time. I'll do the last ones in December. So if somebody would like to take over even sooner, that would be fine, but we'll need to get somebody else.
Understand. Thank you for your service. And so the word is out there. We need a secretary. It obviously requires some special skills and a certain amount of devotion. So I would appreciate it if somebody who feels that they can do that would step up. I'm not completely aware of everybody's skills and talents of who I might think might be suitable. So please understand if I don't try to tap you on the shoulder. Duly noted. Minutes have been approved. President's report, I have nothing other than what I mentioned into adjustments to the agenda. I think we're providing a great service, and I trust we can continue. Will, VP admin, anything new there?
No, well, I have nothing new. I have something for Miriam.
I'm here now.
Can you hear me, Miriam? Okay,
Yeah.
we got a check from England for 60 cents or something like that, which I think is going to cost more to take it to the bank than it's worth. It came from some outfit that's like our equivalent 501c3. It's a charitable foundation in England. For some reason, they have us on their list, and we got all of, I believe it's 60 cents from it. It cost them more to cut the check than it is for it's worth. So I don't know how we got on their list, but I'm happy we are. So what, I guess the question is, what would you like me to do with this check?
Probably hang on to it until you have some others,
Okay,
so that we don't waste 50 cents of postage sending a 60-cent check.
good point.
All right, moving forward, programs report. Hank?
I will have some special things to say during the Q&A. Nothing to report to the board.
All right, thank you. Treasurer's report, Miriam. I've received your treasurer's report. Would you like to elaborate?
Well, no, there was only the 2 new memberships. I think they're new people from that we received through PayPal. What was interesting about this PayPal was that the amount that they took for each one was different. One was like 78 cents and the other one was $1.01. And whoever I talked to about that, I think I talked to Hank about it, or emailed about it, suggested that was because that person was from Canada. But you had said something about that the PayPal prices were going to go up, and I'm more likely, I believe that more than I do that Canada costs more, unless it's having something to do with the exchange rate. But at any rate,
Yes, it does.
oh,
It does
okay.
we have the same experience. Anybody outside of the US, PayPal takes a bigger chunk.
Oh, okay. So that's the explanation for that. So that was the only activity in the month, but I got a letter from the Secretary of State in California that I had made a mistake on the form that I submitted in May before I left California, and which they finally looked at, I guess, in July, and sent me the request for the correction. And I got it and I filled it in, but I sent them a check in case I was past the deadline now, which they have now cashed, which will appear in the September statement. So anyhow, but now we're good with them, I think. And that's about all I have for Alice. The balance at the beginning of the month was 4828.04. And at the end of the month, it was 4856.24.
Thanks. Got it.
Okay.
Miriam, I have a question. What does it cost us to have a 501c3?
Well, I think I wrote, had I not made a mistake, I think I wrote one check for $20. I don't recall having sent another one. I will look at Quicken, hang on a second, and I will look to see.
No, that's all I need to know is it's like 20 bucks. That's not.
No, yeah, it's somewhere between 20 and 40. Hang on a
Okay,
second.
that's fine.
It's not, it's less than 100 for sure. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a Department of Justice annual registration for 25. And that, so actually it is 45 bucks that I spent on the 501c3. I also question if we stay at this size, whether it's worth, for $15 a person, I'm not sure if it's worthwhile our keeping it, but that's for another time. So
Worthwhile keeping what? What are you talking about?
whether it pays to maintain our 501c3 status.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. I don't know if anybody else has opinion about other nonprofit 501(c)(3). I see Hank has his hand up.
I think it's an intangible benefit because people who contribute to us or who pay our dues can write them off on their income tax. And,
Yeah, but
That's a very
nowadays
big
the
point.
tax-
and
The
you
tax
don't,
has changed.
what?
The tax has changed in such a way that I don't know that many people are using anything other than the standard deduction, and then it doesn't, I don't think it counts anymore.
That's correct. But I just think it's an intangible thing of being a nonprofit invites
Yeah,
people who would not join, who will join a nonprofit. And you'll never know how much of your $45 you make back.
right. Well, I am willing to continue.
One observation I have is that if it's not a great inconvenience, it certainly isn't a great expense. And considering our financial status, where we really do not have major expenses, we are relatively flush financially. And so just on the basis that we're willing to, or Miriam is willing to continue to do that, and we're financially able to do it, I would recommend that we simply maintain the status quo and continue with that charge.
Okay, that's
I would
fine with
agree.
me. Yeah,
Okay,
I move that we accept the treasurer's report as presented.
it's been moved and seconded. All those please say aye or raise your hand.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Pat had a question she put on the chat, which was, the question is, how much is it costing us? And I think you essentially said
$45.
less than $50, Pat.
Oh, okay. Then it's worth it.
Okay,
Membership.
membership, yes.
Okay.
Will?
Yes, I can show something if I can share screen.
You're able to do that.
Okay, let's get to what I want to show. There we go. Got it. Okay, this is our monthly report for membership. We currently have 43 active members, of which 9 are life members. There were still 12 people from last year that did not renew their membership. And we have 4 new members since the beginning of the year. So any questions? And one thing I want to show while I'm on here, just a moment, let me bring it up. I'm maintaining, can you see this spreadsheet called Zoom Weekly?
We see
Yes, I
stats.
see it.
Yeah,
We see
okay.
stats 2022.
Yes, I maintain this list just as an attendance report to see who's on here. And as you can see it, I also a list of people that have Apple Mac.
No, we
we
aren't
don't,
seeing
we
that,
don't
Will.
see that.
You're
We're not seeing that, Will.
It's
We'll
it's the other one that you have up there, the one you showed previously.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
see what's going on.
Yeah, I
Why
think you have
is it
to,
not showing?
I think you have to unshare the stats and then share the Zoom weekly.
I'm unsharing you. Start again, Will,
Okay,
to the right place.
it's not allowing me to share.
You should be able to share. Nobody else is sharing.
I'm clicking on it. I'll share. Okay, I got it. Share screen coming up. All right, let's do this. Okay, do you see it now?
Yes.
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 Okay, this is sort of a attendance report of our various Zoom meetings. And I have a listing on the left of all of our active members, and down below are non-members. It's not in alphabetical order, but keeping it there. And I also list the people that have Apple Mac, and also a listing of our board members off to the right. So any questions? I'll probably delete August as soon as September's done.
Will, I have
Yes.
a suggestion.
Yes.
Use freeze panes in Excel so that the top headings don't fall off the screen when you scroll down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Okay. If nothing else, I will stop share.
Okay, thank you.
On to old business.
On to old business. Will, have you talked to Wesley Palms about what still exists there and what their policy is on storage?
Negative. I have not talked to them. The last communication was with our member Sammy Olnick, and she has not been on for several weeks. And she said that she had some medical problems, but she said they're still buttoned up at Wesley Palms, and they are allowing, I believe, guests to come in under certain circumstances, but generally they're still locked up apparently.
All right, Will, I thought you were going to go by there and ask to get it firsthand.
Okay, I will do that. I'll make a note to do that.
I would appreciate, I thought that was our understanding last month.
It may have been, and I forgot to write it down.
Okay.
I have,
Moving-
I have a comment on this subject. I know we're storing stuff there at Wesley Palms, and I know Wesley Palms has been great to us in the past, but we keep asking when we can come back. And I'm not sure we need to keep asking that question because I'm not sure we ought to want to come back. If we do, it costs us a whole new insurance policy, which is not minuscule. And I'm not sure of the advantage. How many people do we have that would how many members do we have that don't come now to Zoom meetings who would come in person? I'm not sure there are any.
I would agree. If any, very few.
Hank, I agree with that observation. My point is, if we admit to Wesley Palms we don't intend to come back, they're liable to say, well, then get your stuff out of our storage.
Right.
And so long as they're willing to store our stuff, I think we need to leave sleeping dogs alone. But that was not my impression of what Will's marching orders were in talking to Wesley Palms. I was hoping that he could just go in and see that it's still there or what their policy is. Maybe it's better just not to go there at all.
Well, Pat's been there recently and looked in our storage space, right, Pat?
You're muted.
Pat, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I know, I'm trying to unmute. Okay,
Oh.
to unmute. Okay, no, I was there pre-pandemic, like 2019, when you were emptying out that one storage unit. Will was there and a bunch of other people. We were emptying out one. And so.
I
that's
thought you
how-
had gone there recently because of San Diego State person.
No. I've had this I've had the archivist stuff since 2019 at least.
My apologies.
No problem.
Okay,
I think.
all right, then let's, moving on.
I wanted to report to comment more on that, Stan. The only things we have there that really have any value, I believe, we have a desktop computer, a printer, and a laptop, all of which are fairly recent vintage. Other than that, it's just a lot of paperwork. I don't believe we have a projector there anymore.
Where did the projector go?
I don't think we had one and it broke, and We were using one that Fred Wasserman supplied to us, and then he took it back.
Okay.
And the last times we were there, we used theirs, right? Well,
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, we
Used
met
a
in
lot
a
of their
different
equipment.
room. And you used theirs, right?
okay,
Oh.
I would just suggest that we do the non-boating, excuse me, non-boat rocking investigation.
Okay,
what-
well, don't bother Wesley Palms. We'll just assume that we have a couple computers and a laptop and a printer, and it's just going to stay there forever without being charged. And not worry about it. Okay, is that right? Is that the consensus?
I would say that we do recover them sometime because they do have value, but
Where are you going to put them?
I don't know. Maybe we'll raffle them off or something.
Well, that's why I say we got a place to put them right now, and we don't have a place in the future if you want to pull them out of there.
That's true. Unless we raffle them and then they have then they have a home. One additional thing on meeting in person. Another group that I know about does meet in person, not for a meeting, but just for a general luncheon somewhere, just face on face. And that's something we might want to consider. I'm not proposing that.
Miriam has a question.
Well, no, about this, the stuff that's stored there. They must have the name of and phone number of somebody in our organization. And if they were to decide to clear that storage locker out, I would hope that they would call us to let us know.
I would agree with that, totally, right.
Yeah, I would hope too, but you know what hope is. Okay, moving forward. Dan brought up, and we're moving to legality of remote BOD meetings. Dan mentioned something at the last meeting, which I followed up, took a picture of the article and shared it with you all. And I have received feedback. Basically, Hank pointed out that that article was referring to HOA, homeowner organization, homeowner owners association, and does not apply to us. And as such, it is probably moot. Does anybody have any, Dan, do you want to comment further on that article that you shared with us?
I was mainly interested in the part where I talked about a combined meeting with the physical meeting and the Zoom meeting combining. And they had some suggestions on how to do that. I previously looked at one of those. It was the submarine veterans, and it didn't work very well. So I didn't know if you wanted to, if we're ever going to pursue that or not, but that was the reason for the reference. I understand that it's a homeowners association. I didn't know if that referred to us or not.
Okay, well, unless I'm alerted otherwise that someone is objecting to the effectiveness of board meetings via Zoom, I'm going to presume that it is irrelevant, moot, and not worth pursuing. Nothing personal, Dan. Thank you for your interest.
Yeah. Stanley, I just, the item says the legality of remote board of director meetings. Is there any question that what we're doing is legal? I mean, if we accept it ourselves, is there anyone that's going to gainsay us?
Based on the article that I shared, homeowner associations were objecting to meetings of the board being held via Zoom and accessed by the residents of not being as effective as it was in person. And the author of the article was saying, yes, there is a concern due to the bylaws, et cetera, of homeowner association and corporation. But since we're not a homeowner association, we need not be concerned with it. And no one has objected. If someone objects to us holding a board meeting, we'll pursue it.
Yeah.
But that's my position.
Yeah, in some ways, it means that, we should actually look in our bylaws and see if there is any requirement for in-person or anything like that. If there's not, then it's really a non-issue. But you were talking about legality, and sometimes you have to
Yeah.
go back to your own founding documents to see what you had set out as how things are supposed to be done.
Probably a poor choice of words, but the bylaws were written before computers were invented, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I know scratching on papyrus is really tough.
Yeah. Okay, moving forward. Pat, would you care to elaborate on what's going on? As a prep to this, I just want to say that I have submitted the collection of newsletters that I had sitting on my shelf of the newsletters primarily of the IBM and Compatibles user group, which I was affiliated with, and the San Diego Computer Society newsletter, which I was also affiliated with. And since both of those organizations are defunct, I had no compunction against turning them over to an organization that claims to want them for archival purposes on establishing the history of computers in San Diego. And therefore, I did so. However, with the Senior Computer Group, we are not defunct, and we do have a board of directors. And I suggested that since we have a board of directors, they should be consulted before we turn that material over to SDSU archivists. And with that intro, Pat would like to speak.
Okay. Well, back in 2019, when we were clearing out the storage area, and I guess everybody wanted to dump the file box of all of the bits and bytes and all the other stuff that you had in there, which wasn't much besides that, but there are some meetings and things like that that was in there too. So I took it home with me because, as I was telling Stan, a good friend of mine, when I moved out here, was an archivist, and I recognized this is probably archival material because it went kind of back. So but then the pandemic hit, and I really didn't do much with it until the last couple of months. And then I know San Diego State and also Coleman College was affiliated with the Computer Museum of America. And I gave a lot of my stuff back in the 90s to the Computer Museum of America, mainly Atari stuff, games and what have you. And so then they went, I guess Coleman, they were affiliated part of the time with Coleman and part of the time downtown. At any rate, Coleman, well, it no longer exists now, but they had the museum there. They no longer could fund it. So all of their stuff went to San Diego State University archives. And actually it's supposed to be distributed throughout their library system. I haven't been there to see this, so I have really no visible contact with that. But anyway, so I contacted them. I finally found the archivist, and she said that she was going to look, consult. She's the assistant or the associate. So she talked it over with her, boss and that, and they said, yes, they'd be interested in this material. And so I said, okay, fine. And so we set up, a time to meet and have her pick up. In the meantime, well, actually, before I consulted her, I emailed Hank and asked him what his thoughts were on it. And he said to consult with Stan. And so I consulted with Stan the other day, and here we are. So Stan wanted to have a formal approval to donate to the archivist. And she was going to actually be here, but she's taking her dog to the vet today, so she's gonna see if she can get in at some point. I told her she has 10:30 to 12 to make it, so she may. Her name is Amanda Lanthorn, and she's the associate archivist, I believe it was, at San Diego State University.
Okay, I see Will has his hand up on this discussion.
I just visited my archival area and came across Dr. Dobbs' Journal of Computer Calisthenics and Orthodontia, dated December 1978. I think I've got a lot of documents that I should turn over to this person. So Pat, if you can send me some information on how I can reach her, I'll donate these things. And I think I've got a lot of bits and bytes also.
Oh, I've got most of them to, except for the 2019 ones. I just had a couple of that. And then Miriam emailed me the balance, but if you've got the print copies, you probably want those.
Yeah,
But
what's the earliest date that you have?
Oh geez, I forgot. Hang on just a second. Oh,
Well, I really don't think that's pertinent to our discussion at the present time.
Okay.
If the individuals have things that they would like to contribute to the archive, they can deal with them outside of this. And suffice to say that we do have records that may be of value to the archive. Should we allow them to take that box of information that Pat has in her possession? That's our question at hand.
I have no problem with them doing it. Do you want to take a vote?
I would have one other observation, that unless someone here is willing to be seniors computer group historian and take the material and archive it some way, other than this San Diego State, which sounds like a certainly viable outfit, I would say we go ahead and give them to them. Hank, you have a comment.
Just so that in case anybody's worrying about, do we have the old bits and bytes? I have what I think is every copy from August 2008 until the last issue that Mel Weekly put out in, I think it was March or May of 2019. They're all digital copies in my files, and anybody can have a copy of anything they want.
Duly noted. Okay,
Done.
all right. Does anybody care to make a motion on the action presented?
So moved.
Second.
Would you phrase that motion, please?
Yeah, what moved?
I move that we authorize Pat to present to the historian all that information on the bits and bytes.
Is there any, yeah, is there
It's
anything,
been moved and seconded by David, I believe. And all in favor of the motion? Discussion, Hank.
Yeah, before you vote. These are paper copies of old bits and bytes. Is that?
yes, everything is paper.
Thank you.
is there anything other than bits and bytes in the box?
Right, there's, yeah, that's what I got out. I made a little inventory. There's folders on SCG bylaws. There's 2 DVDs. There's a folder of newspaper articles. There's an Orange Basic Senior Newsletter archive file from 1993 to 1984. There's 3 folders for the 2009 for the 25th anniversary. So I guess it started in 1984. And then there's in that folder, there's 3 folders. There's board meetings and general business meetings.
I suggest that we keep the bylaws paper.
I think the only thing that should be given is the bits and bytes.
Just the bits and the bytes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure, because the
Yeah,
motion.
thank
on
you.
the
I didn't
floor-
realize there was other, but it should be, I believe, it should be only the bits and bytes.
Okay, Will has his hand
Yeah,
up.
my question was, Hank said he has digital copies of all of these. If that's the case, I think they would rather have digital copies than the hard copies.
Well, the question is the original. So what Pat is referring to may very well be the original, the paper copy of the original bylaws. Because I don't think anyone here, the secretary or president or Will Wakely or anybody has the original. I have files of the original, but they're all scans.
No, I
So-
wasn't referring to bits, I wasn't referring to bylaws. I was.
I'm
referring to
not,
bits and
oh, I'm
bytes.
sorry, the bylaws, yes.
I was not referring to bylaws. I was referring to bits and bytes.
I think Pat just needs to let them know or to find out, do they want digital or do they want the hard copy? Whichever they want, we can provide.
Right, well, they can always get the digital. I mean, everybody has got the digital, and I believe the digital is on the website. So that's not the
Yeah, so
issue.
they want the originals, the hard copy.
Issue is the paper copies.
Yeah.
And whatever paper copies don't go to her, then someone needs to take them.
We have a motion on the floor. I think we've had any new discussion?
Okay, and the motion is to transfer everything that's in that box.
No, it is not.
No.
It is not.
All
The
right.
motion is, I move that we give the hard copies of the bits and bytes only to the.
All right, okay.
Okay.
All right, that is the motion.
That's
Second.
what was. It was seconded, but
Yes, but seconded. All right, all in favor of the motion as read back, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? No opposition? So Pat will separate the bylaws and anything else that she sees relevant except for the hard copies of bits and bytes. So that's all we're turning over to Amanda.
Okay, sounds
Do
good.
you think that's, okay, I would be interested in hearing her reaction.
Okay, well, I have one other question. What do you want me to do with the other stuff that's remaining?
Well, my thought is sneak into Wesley Palms without letting anybody know and stash it in the closet where our stuff is.
Okay, well, does somebody, okay,
I presume there's a key involved, Stan.
Yeah.
otherwise, if you have a corner in your closet, keep it until further notice.
well, we're cleaning up.
The boat is rocking again.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Okay. Well, Patricia will be the custodian of the records that she has collected. Okay, Patricia?
oh, okay, but I think I like the idea of getting it back to Wesley Palms. So who has access to Wesley Palms in the storage unit?
I do.
Well, okay, well,
Coordinate that with Will.
Okay,
can Will work with Pat to get what remains back into Wesley Palms?
Okay.
Yeah.
Pat, what do you have besides the
okay.
bylaws? What do you have besides the bylaws?
Well, there's 2 DVDs. These are all in folders. So there's a folder of newspaper articles
Okay,
on the 25th anniversary in 2009. I guess there was a big hoopla there. And then
okay,
I have an orange folder that says Basic Seniors Newsletter Archive File 1993 to 84 is what I wrote down. And then there's another folder full of board meetings, general business meetings. And that's it.
hey, shouldn't that orange folder go to the archivist?
Not per the motion that we just did. And Will, I think you can see when you get together with Pat, what's there. And
Yeah,
I think we're beyond the agenda item.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go here pretty soon, so
Right.
this is getting a little lengthy here.
Right.
Okay. All right. Pat, do you have any final questions?
Nope, that should do it.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving forward. Directors at large comments. Ray Slater, do you have anything to say?
I don't have anything special other than to say I think you're doing an excellent job, Will, and if you need me, call me.
Okay. Arlene Way, do you have anything to contribute?
No positive suggestions at this time.
Good. Keep the non-positive suggestions. David McCall.
But the only thing that I have to say is that next month for the meeting, I will be out of the country, so you will not see me at the board meeting.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Jim Fagashi
Nothing at this time.
and Saul Schumer.
Just mention, as Hank sent out this morning, there's a new set of APCUG online webinars free for you to attend this month on Wednesdays. So you can check that out from his email.
That went to members of the seniors computer group, about the only perk that we have now for members that is not a perk for those who attend these meetings who are not members, is that sort of forwarding that I do.
Mhm.
Okay, I have one thought that comes to mind. Speaking of members and checks, Will, did you get notice that Joan Edwards has joined the organization, and has that been added to the database?
I do, but I do not have her address information. I have her email and her name and when she joined. But Joan, if you could send, are you on? Yeah, you're on. I need your mailing address.
And just a reminder that we will need to have a nomination committee at the next meeting who will create a slate so that in November it can be presented, so that it can be voted on.
Okay. Add that to my,
I'll send you that information and Will.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be in the chat box.
I need a clarification on something. Don't mean to beat a dead horse, but Pat did say she had an orange folder that had bits and bytes in it. And I thought we agreed, or the motion was to give all the bits and bytes to the archivist. And I'm just questioning that. Is that clear, Pat, that you have? an orange
Could we
folder?
not get into the color of the folders, Will?
Well, that's the name.
The motion
that's
was
the name.
clear. Okay.
I know, the motion was clear that everything that was bits and bytes to be given to the archivist, and she claims that she still has that.
but Pat and Will can discuss this and work it out at the time. I think the guidance is sufficient. And Patricia and Will are a committee to do that transfer.
Right.
Well, I just want to be clear on what the guidance was, that's all.
All
The
copies
guidance
of the bits and bytes,
was to be given to the archivist.
period.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Arlene, did you have your hand up?
No, I didn't mean
okay.
to.
Okay.
Yeah, mine just popped up too, but I have a question for Will. I guess I need your phone numbers and all that stuff, and you may need mine. And then we could do this like ASAP. That's what I want to do.
Okay, I have your email address. We'll talk by email.
Okay,
Okay, please coordinate.
okay, thank you.
Okay, next meeting is October 8th. All right, and we adjourn at, I have 11:15.
That's correct. That's so noted.
Okay, thank you all for being here, and I'd like to turn the meeting over to Hank with his hand up.
That's why my hand's up. I'm going to the beginning of Q&A or this morning because I need some help, and I figured a way to get the help. before I do that, is there anyone here who intended to ask something at Q&A that can't wait for another week? Somebody hurting? Raise your hand, please, or wave it or something. Is that you, Will?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, is that your only comment? Okay, I'm having problems with moving windows around on my machine, and I don't know what the solution is other than to reinstall Windows. Ross may have an answer for me, but when I try to move windows around, sometimes they'll jump to a full window. Sometimes they won't move at all. But I think Windows is probably controlled by the operating system. Is that correct, Ross?
So you're trying to pick up, say, an Excel page and move it,
Any window that comes up.
and it's jerky when you go to move it, or it just
Yeah.
snaps to the full
In
screen?
some cases, it won't move at all. Other times, when I click to try to move it, it jumps to full screen. But when I go to minimize to a intermediate minimized screen, I have problems moving it around. I
Well,
suspect it's an operating system problem.
If it moves to, when you move it, you're moving it to, it goes to a full screen, that's Windows trying to help you by setting it up to a full screen.
But shouldn't I just be able to move the intermediate window around on my major screen?
Okay, so again, you're trying to move it. Let's go back over here. And it's, when you go to move it, it moves it to a full screen. That's Windows trying to help you.
They've never helped
Say,
me in the
oh, you must
past.
want to do this, so it does that for you.
I just want to slide it from one side of the screen to the other side of the screen,
Okay.
semi-minimized. And it's always done it in the past, but now it will not slide to the other side of the screen. It jumps to a full window.
Depends on where you grab it.
Yeah, is your mouse working correctly?
I'm trying to figure out if the problem is a mouse problem or if it's an operating system problem.
Is it a wired mouse versus a wireless?
It's a wireless mouse.
Okay, so my strong preference, as you know, is for things being wired. I never have trouble with my wired mouse. I don't have any battery problems with it. I don't have any connection problems with it. It just always works. So you might try an inexpensive wired mouse, and I would suggest that you have one as a spare. So then you can just plug that in along with your other mouse and see if the problem goes away or it continues.
Okay, yeah, I've got a half a dozen of them around here somewhere. But it's just interesting that the semi-minimized window doesn't operate the way it used to. It jumps around badly. Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
Things change, and I'm sorry, but yeah, things change and they don't always work the way we wanted them to. But I have the same issue when I go to try to move a reduced window to another position on this computer. It says, "Oh, you want to go full screen with that," and it pops up to full screen. Then I need to go back into where I minimize it or change the shape of that particular window, so it shows like I want it to be.
And I think Windows 11 is got more various options. So it'll put it on one half of the screen or a quarter of the screen or the full screen, because it's trying to figure out how to do things, quote, for you. And it can be very annoying.
Is there an official name for that intermediate reduced window?
Minimized. Or
No, minimized.
Maximize and minimize, and I understand what you're saying, the intermediate size. And
Yeah.
I'd offhand, I don't know. No.
Yeah.
Reduced.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's the normal window as opposed to anything that you've done to it, minimized or maximized, or snapped to one side or the top or the bottom or the left or the right.
But then there's one where it takes it all the way down to the toolbar.
Is that sufficient for your question, Will?
Yes, it is. Hank?
To Hank.
Thank you. I am in need of subjects for presentations, being the vice president for programs. And I'd like to try something with you all, those who are willing to stick around here for another 10 or 15 minutes. I'd like to ask each of you to think of something that you do all the time on your computer. And then think of something that you don't do on your computer, but you know somebody else does, or you've heard about it, or you might like to. And just, I'll go around the room and just pick people one after the other. Tell me those two things. And is there anybody who could keep notes? Our note taker, Alice, is gone. Oh dear.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it in your file? Don't you have transcription turned on?
Yeah, as a matter of
We
fact,
do.
I do. So I can go back and get it from that. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Does everybody understand what I am asking for? If you don't, wave your hand and I'll say it again. I want something you do all the time. Just tell me what it is, like copy and paste. Yes, Will?
Yeah, that's what I would like to say. I use ClipMate all the time and I'd like to demonstrate it.
Okay, wait a minute. The thing you do all the time is what?
Copy and paste using ClipMate.
Using copy and paste using ClipMate.
ClipMate, it's a multiple
Yeah, I
copy
understand.
paste
You don't.
program.
I don't need more than what you just. I'm trying to keep this short and get through everybody. What is the thing that you don't do on your computer that you might like to? Will?
Deliver me a scotch and soda, I don't know.
All right. That doesn't help, but you tried. Mr. Schumer, Saul.
I don't know of anything. I mean, obviously the common stuff we all do, you know, we copy, paste, we print, we, you know, create stuff, we edit stuff, we do everything, you know, whatever we normally do. I don't know of anything in particular. I would like to find a way to trim videos a little easier than I'm doing, which is very horrendous the way I do it. So that might be something I would like to learn how to do better.
Trim videos.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to keep it simple. That's a 2-word description. Thank you very much. Mr. Stanley. You're muted.
He's on the phone.
He's on the
Yes, the
phone.
phone.
Okay, I'll skip. Arlene.
Oh, I play mahjong.
Okay, play mahjong. I'm not sure I can do a video on that, but
I think she said she does play mahjong.
no, that's
Yes.
That she
I-
wants
the
to
first
do.
I
thing I'm
do play
asking for-
mahjong a lot.
the first thing I'm asking for is something you do on your computer a lot.
That's mahjong.
Okay, and
What would I like to learn to do? I don't know.
okay, come on, everybody who's hasn't been called on yet, think harder. Patricia.
Well, I do a lot of email. I think, but mostly some things take a little longer to do, but it's stuff that I probably should have to figure out. I can never get the attachments on quite as easily as they say you're supposed to. So I don't know. I guess I could try something like that. And the other thing is the printing. You know, if there is a way, sometimes when I get an email and you print out the email and the writing is like huge. So if there's a way of reducing the writing, so say you can get an invoice or something on one page, But it's reducing the writing.
How to
I know
reduce
there-
the size of the print on something that you're going to print. That's
Right,
Mhm.
right, exactly. And
clear.
that's
Okay.
not, I know when you go
That's
to.
exactly the sort of thing that I'm looking for, because I know how to demonstrate that on a computer and make a video of how you do it.
Hank, if I could just interject on Pat's comment there, it would help to know what you're trying to print, what type of file you're trying to print. Because for instance, if it's a PDF file, that is a trivial effort because it's built into Adobe Reader. If it's something else, that's another matter.
Well, either one. Well, what I'm thinking of is a lot of times, from the community college, they send the, the agenda. But it's her email. It's not the presentation of what she's going to do. It's her email. Every now and then it comes through like it's for the blind or something. And I don't know why it does that, but it does. And instead of like one page, which it generally is, it comes out like 2.5, 3 pages.
So again, I'm just trying to clarify if that's in the body of the email message versus a
Yes.
file attachment, just to
No.
clarify for Hank's sake.
It's in the body.
And what email program?
Well, it's coming through on, I think she comes through on Hotmail. She comes through on my Hotmail via, Mac.
Okay, yeah, you're I forgot, Mac.
I don't know if that makes any
I
difference.
can't do that. I thought that was going to be easy. All right, Paul, what do you do?
You mean David?
Yes.
Okay, David, okay. One of the things that I do every week, since I do this online tutoring for Mesa College, is I use basically my drawing program, my pen with OneNote to basically use it as sort of a whiteboard where people can do things. And so that was one of the things that I use all the time. And as far as something that I'd like to do, I think along with Saul, I'd like to do a little bit more of trying to put together videos and basically both capture them and then post-process them so they're ready to get uploaded.
I would love to see a OneNote presentation.
I only use certain features of it, and it does lots of things, but it's one of the things that when I'm trying to do something remotely, want to show someone, I can write on it like it's a piece of paper, and I can cut and paste things from other places and keep them all in booklets and so on like that.
Yeah, OneNote's a powerful program. If there's somebody that could demo that, it would be great.
Maybe David. Okay, that's the sort of thing that will really help me put some things together for the future for these Saturday morning sessions. Miriam.
Yes, well, I play a lot of computer solitaire using the Microsoft solitaire suite or collection or whatever they call it. But I also use for email, I use the Mozilla Thunderbird program. And I'm probably one of the last few people that uses it, but it has a lot of wonderful features which make it very easy to sort them in alphabetical order by sender or sort them in alphabetical order by subject matter, and you get all the stuff collected up very nicely. So I'm very happy with that. And as for something else to do, I'm quite happy doing my solitaire games.
You don't want to do anything new, huh? Okay. Will.
Who?
Will Wakely.
I already told
What
you.
is something that you do all the time?
Well, I said I use Clipmate all the time, but I also
That's right.
play
You've
Freecell all
done
the
this
time.
already.
So
I'm sorry. You moved around. You were up at the beginning and now you're down in the middle.
Windows don't stay in the same place on Zoom. They move around for each individual.
Except when somebody has their virtual hand up and then you can't move them.
Exactly. Jim.
Yes, I use Excel very frequently, almost every time I turn on my computer. I use it mostly for looking up passwords and my PIN number for some site that I want to get to because I have so many PIN numbers. And just about rearranging on the Zoom screen, I just want to comment that whenever I go to a Zoom session, I rearrange everyone's picture on my Zoom screen, mostly in the order of people who have a lot to say, and usually they're at the top 2 rows. And that can be done quite easily just by holding the right mouse button down, and you can move any picture that you see on your Zoom screen to a different location. And I think it was Sol who just said you can't do that if someone has their hand up. And Hank, you have your hand up, which means nobody can move their picture. The other thing that I wanted to say was I would like to learn how to set up a Zoom session myself, say with family members.
Mhm.
And that's about all I had.
And I could help with the Zoom.
Yeah, that would be good because I just did miserable the time that I did it, the one time I did it,
Ray Schlater.
first and last.
I just basically use my email and I don't have any other special issues that come to mind.
Okay. You understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to find a that is clear enough and unique enough so that I can build a demonstration of how to do it. Like how to cut and paste in Word. Or as Will suggested, how to, I think it was cut and paste in ClipMate, which is a particular program. Mr. Ross Malloy, do you have something you would contribute?
So what I could show on that I use all the time is the snipping tool in Windows. To be able to capture a particular item on the screen and then can show how to attach it to an email. Or you just save it as an image and do what you want to with that particular image. As far as needing to know something at this point, no, I'm just about full up on what I know already. I don't need to learn something else.
Your overflow bin might complain, huh? I understand, Ross. I might take on that snipping tool myself and just build one for that because it's something I do all the time too. And I'm looking for things that I can add to my, Hank's resources, Hank's mini seminars. Paul Mack, you're muted. You're still muted. There you
go. Yeah. I use my computer to do TurboTax once a year. And the rest of the time I use it to play video games. My favorite game is Candy Crush Saga. And I compete with other players online. I hardly use the computer to do my email because I hate to put up. I usually use my iPad or phone to do emails.
Okay. I TurboTax is something I use all the time, but I don't think I am willing to make a video demonstrating how to do that because it discloses too much of your personal finances. But
well, Hank, are you looking for things that you can do, or are you looking for things that you can do, or are you looking for things that other people can do?
Both. If someone volunteers, as I think you did for the ClipMate bit,
why I think the other people did too.
But if there's something that is of general nature that as I just said to Ross, the snipping tool, I could do one on that. Okay, Joan Edwards, do you have a favorite thing you do that you would like to contribute and something you'd like to do?
Well, I do too much already. I don't think I have enough time to do that many more things, but the things that have been mentioned, I'm interested in, but I can't think of anything extra right now. I do a lot of copying and pasting and in a lot of ways, and saving images. So nothing right now. If I think of something, I'll pass it on.
Saving images, what do you use to save your images?
Let's see.
Google Photos?
I use Google Photos, but let's just say that there is a photo that I want to save on Facebook, for example, or on Messenger. I'll just click on it and then right-click on it and save it.
That's probably worthwhile putting together a video. I'll do that.
Okay.
Putting together a video on how to just save a general image that you find somewhere, because the right click on it and then left click on the one that says save image as works on almost everywhere.
And sometimes there's also a send to option.
Yep. Yeah, and one of the send to options for a folder, for example, is send to a zipped file, where you can put all the stuff in a folder in a bunch of zip files. Okay, Bobby, do you have something to contribute that you do all the time that maybe other people might like to know how to do?
Bobby Myers?
Bobby Myers is muted and I'm asking him to unmute, but
I don't know if he's there.
may have put his iPhone down and gone to have breakfast.
He may be lurking, but not paying attention.
No,
There's Bobby.
He's talking now.
Okay, what I do is trade options on stocks and ETFs. I also sell naked calls and naked puts.
Is that
And that's
something
enough to keep me going?
Yeah. Is that something you could be willing to share with people and show us how you do it?
It's very complicated and it would take too long to explain it. It takes
Is there something?
lots of money and you can lose thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Very quickly.
Yeah, the standard advice from most financial advisors is options, forget about it. Unless you want to lose a lot of money.
Or make a lot of money.
Is there, yeah,
Lucky.
if you're very good at it, you can, that's the way to do it. Bobby, is there something you don't do that you would like to hear about that you might learn how to do?
No, I have enough to do trading options.
Okay. I'll move on. Willie.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, I spend most of my time doing Excel spreadsheet stuff because I'm pretty much in the advanced category now. So I don't know if it's worth going any further than what we've already talked about. But the one thing I've been toying with lately is the video editing. And I like seeing the production of how people come up with their YouTube videos and that kind of stuff. And I've done some, rudimentary stuff, but nothing advanced with.
Yeah, I think video editing is a great topic for us to try to spread some information on that. I see some nodding heads.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my goal is usually to do it without much cost. So I don't like to buy specialized software for video editing. I know you can buy, advanced video editing stuff, but I'm sort of into VLC. And I had this new thing called Open Broadcast Source, OBS software. And that's kind of nice. And I just found a new thing called FFmpeg that I'm dabbling with right now, but it's an interesting software. All open source stuff.
That's great. Thank you. Everybody, or David or Saul, how do I make sure that I can retrieve this this record of what do you call it? Down at
The transcript?
Yes.
Yeah. You can go to the up arrow. This is only for Hank, okay, because he's the host, okay. You can go to the up arrow to just the right of where the live transcript button is and select, let me see what it says.
The live transcript button. I've got to find that first. There it is.
And you select where it says view full transcript. It opens up a pane, something like the chat window. And I think down to the bottom of it, there should be a choice to save it, just like there is with chat.
There it is. I got it. Thank you very, very much. Okay.
One more point. Right to the right, when you click on Save Transcript, it says Show in Folder. That's very important because you want to know where it is being saved. And you can redirect that save to other places if you wish. That's why the Save Transcript, actually, I'm not sure about you can redirect it, but that Save Transcript and then Show in Folder so you know where it went, where it is being saved. Otherwise, it'll be lost.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, if you're on a Mac, it says Show in Finder instead of Folder, and it is always, always, always saved under the Zoom folder, under usually your documents or downloads somewhere.
Yep. That's where the video is saved every week that I eventually put on the Seniors Computer Group website, so that people who missed one of these fascinating sessions can come back and watch the whole thing again. All right, all. I've got a couple of hands still up, and we'll go back to that. Joan.
Yeah. Yes. I just thought of this. Is it possible for you to have the intermediate Zoom or intermediate Excel program on?
The what?
The YouTube intermediate Excel.
Oh, you mean I showed the YouTube one on Excel that was the basic.
Right.
And you're saying there's an intermediate, and could I show that?
Yes, because I think there was a bit of I don't know what you would call it, but we jumped from the basic last week into advanced things. And so there was a lot of intermediate terminology and things that I would like to have to connect the two.
Okay, I will look for that when I get through the transcript. Okay, Mr. Wakely.
Yeah, just a comment. I left my cell phone in my shopping cart yesterday. And so I went online and I went to find my Android. And I found that there are dozens, maybe not dozens, but many programs to do that. Many of them said free, but when you actually tried to do it, it wanted to collect 50 cents or a buck. So the one I found that worked very, very well was just a Google Find My Phone, and it worked fine and uses GPS and points it out exactly where it is. So I give a thumbs up to Google.
You can also use that Google service to make your phone make a sound, even if it's muted. It will beep, beep, beep. because I had
Uh,
to do that this
yeah.
last weekend also.
I also found that you can lock it and you can also erase it.
Yes.
So anyway, that worked great.
Stanley,
Reacting to Joan's comment about going to intermediate, my feeling about Excel is once you learn the basics or have, the basics and you work with it a little bit, if you go beyond that, there are so many divergent patterns that you can get into that you really need to chase the stuff that you're interested in. I've found many tools in Excel that I didn't even know exist. And I must admit, Willie, of his recent presentation, touted me or mentioned something that I wasn't even aware of, concatenation. And there's just so many tools in Excel that you need to pursue the things that you have an interest in. Because once you get into intermediate, they're liable to be talking about things that are fascinating, but unrelated to your thing. So my feeling is you need to explore and go down the channel that you have an interest in. And Hank is frantically waving his hands.
I'm trying to slow you down a little bit. The main reason for going past the one that we started with last week, and we're going to do that next week. Next week is going to be more Excel. And the main reason for going past the introduction is that they didn't cover formulas at all. And that's the major next step for most people in Excel. And I have a presentation that I will play next week that I made 4 years ago, and it still applies, to show people how formulas work in Excel and how well they work and how easy they are to expand.
Thank you, Hank.
We'll do that. It is, it's only 11:46. My goodness, I thought we'd gone on forever here. Thank you all very much for going through this last exercise. I got to save transcript again and hide it somewhere and then find the time to go through every bit of it. And that will not happen just in the next week. There's a lot in here. And if
when searching, when looking at transcript file, use the search function or find. And you can look, remember a keyword or a word that might have been mentioned. And that's a very valuable tool because that transcript file is very long. It does have a time code on it. But I found that the find function, and you might search for a name, but of some topic a word that was mentioned, that will help you get to the area that you're particularly interested in. So that's a valuable tool in searching.
Thanks. Will?
Yeah, I was going to say, I use Access a lot. I don't know. I wanted to sort of take a poll on people as to, is there any interest in learning about Access, because it comes with Microsoft Office Professional, but it is an advance over Excel and will do many more things than Excel will do. So is anybody interested in that? If they are, I can put together a presentation at a future time.
I think you did this once before. Will.
A long time ago, yeah.
Yes,
a long
he
time
did.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one person, I think Jim is interested, but that doesn't seem like it's enough to
Wave
do a
your hand if
presentation.
you want Will to present an Access.
1, 2, 3,
2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that sometime.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, thank you all for your thought. Oh, and the other thing is, please remember that anytime you think of something that might be worth presenting at this organization's Zoom meetings, there is a place on Hank's mini seminars where it says ideas. You click on that and you can type in anything that just tickled your fancy about, hey, I would like to know about blah, blah, blah. It's easy to get there, or you can send me an email. You all have my email address. Please, the next time something or something that you didn't think of this morning, but think of at, you know, at lunch or at dinner tonight. Hey, I wish I'd suggested to Hank, blah, blah, blah. Please send me blah, blah, blah. It will help immensely in keeping these sessions interesting to different people with different capabilities.
Okay, I just thought of something, Hank. I do scanning every once in a while, scanning documents and saving them. I don't know if people are interested in that or not. It does
Yes.
require that you have a scanner, though.
Yeah, but most people have a scanner built into their printer these days. And I just downloaded a new program from my printer that helps me a lot with scanning stuff. I used to use Windows Fax and Scan. I did not find that very helpful. But this new Hewlett-Packard program that I found after getting frustrated with Windows Fax and Scan is much better. I'll put that on the list. Okay, everybody, I need to save the transcript again and let you all go to lunch. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing.
Okay.
Belonging to this
And we shall see you next week.
this
Okay.
canoe club.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Pat had her hand up.
Oh, no, no. You know, that does keep doing that. I don't put my hand up. It just pops up there. I'm not sure why. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Save transcript and show where it's saved. Done. Bye all.